everyone, and welcome to Our Franklin. I am Polixeni Manjari, and today we're going to be talking about everything presidential election. It is voting season, so people are going out to the polls, and we're here to answer all of your questions. A couple of our guests today include Teresa Burr, who's our town clerk, and Jamie Hellen, who is deputy town administrator. So thank you for being here and joining us.
Thank you for having
Our
me.
pleasure.
My pleasure. So there is a new federal law that allows for early voting. Can you guys tell us a little bit about what that involves?
Sure, it's the first time to Massachusetts, and as everybody is aware of, we do offer absentee voting.
Right.
Now they're having something called early voting. The difference is now with absentee, you have to be out of town, not physically able to attend the polling place. Now you do not need an excuse. You can just come into the office. I'm offering Saturday, October 29th, will be open between 8 and 1. And then the following week on Wednesday, November 2nd, and Thursday, November 3rd, we will be open till 7 p.m. on both days.
Great. So there's plenty of options for people who want to vote, skip the lines, get there early.
Exactly.
Wonderful. It's great.
It's a great opportunity to skip the lines. Just for clarity, people can just go right into the municipal building, 355 East Central Street.
Great.
Right into the town clerk's office. The town clerk's going to have some booths set up for people to vote. It's just like voting any other day, except you're doing it a week or two early, and you can completely beat the lines.
That's great.
And
wonderful.
the parking.
And the parking.
And all of that.
Right, because we're expecting a lot of people to come out, I'm sure, for this historic election. So to come early is definitely beneficial.
Yep.
Great. And when is the last day to register to vote? For people who are, just coming of age and want to get involved.
It's October 19th. That's a Wednesday, and you have till 8 p.m.
Wonderful.
If you mail in your voter registration card, as long as it's postmarked October 19th, you're all set. You're all set. You'll still be able to register to vote.
Great. So for anyone that is already a voter who has voted in other elections, how do they make sure that they're still active as opposed to inactive this season?
Sure. What they can do is they can contact our office. They're more than welcome to give us a call at 508-520-4900. And what they can also do is email us at franklin.ma.us. We'd be happy to help them and look them up in the state computer and let them know if they are registered or if they're inactive.
Great, so it's a quick and easy process.
Very easy.
And for anybody who's voted before, it's not as if anybody takes them off the voting rolls.
Right,
so,
absolutely.
For the residents out there who have voted in, a couple previous elections or for 25 years, there's no reason to think that somehow they're off the voting rolls. They can just come on in. But I think that's a helpful resource to call the office.
Just to make sure.
For some of the younger voters that, may have done it once or they subscribed, with the driver's license or something like that. So it's good to check.
Because if you have not voted in an election in the past 2 years, you will become inactive.
Okay. That's great to know. And now, is there only one place to go vote on November 8th, or are there multiple locations in Franklin?
No, we have one polling place here in Franklin, which is located at the Franklin High School and Gymnasium, which is on Oak Street.
Is there only one place to vote in Franklin this season, or are there multiple locations for people to go vote?
No, Franklin has actually only one place, one polling place, which is at the Franklin High School in the gymnasium. And Franklin is one of the only towns that opens up an hour earlier. We open up at 6 a.m. instead of at 7 a.m.
Awesome. That's a great advantage, too, for our voters.
It is.
Now, speaking of going to one place to vote, I know a lot of people have an issue with their precinct and not knowing which one that they're in. So how do voters find their precinct?
Okay, and again, what they can do is call the office, email us. It's also posted on our website. If they go to the website, to the town clerk's office, the precincts are posted right there, and it's done by your street.
By street, okay.
Also, when you go to the polls, when you first walk into the atrium area there, it is posted in bold print, like what precinct am I? And it's all up there. And of course, one of the poll workers there would be happy to look it up and help anybody who.
Great. So it'll be easy to find for our voters.
Yes.
Now, tell us a little bit about, Jamie, if you want to hop in, if you want to tell us a little bit about absentee ballots and how that's going to, work for people who, like you said, may not be in the state.
Well, I think for absentee ballots, right, folks usually are out of the country or they're out of state or they're on business trips. So it's a huge advantage to be able to come in, request an absentee ballot, and be able to cast your ballot. But with the early voting, I think that you're going
Right.
to see probably a lot more folks move over and just come into the polls early. And you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't make this plug, but you know, certainly for absentee ballots,
Right.
what happens is someone comes in, they fill out the ballot, and then they go in an envelope, and there's all sorts of safety measures. So there's no tampering with the ballots and whatnot. There's an official state procedure, and it's in state law about how absentee ballots are to be handled.
Right.
But I believe they can just call up and go into the town clerk's office and request it. And what's the date that starts, Teresa?
Well, it starts as soon as we receive the ballots, which will probably around the first week in October.
Great.
As soon as we receive them, I'll post it out there and let people know that early voting, that absentee voting has started. And they can, right now on our website, they can request and fill out an absentee ballot, and they can email it, fax it to us.
Easy.
And and we'll have that, and then we'll send them out a ballot as soon as we receive them.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, are you expecting less absentee ballots now that the early voting has gone into effect?
Actually, right now, I don't see any less. I still see a lot of absentee ballots. A lot of them have to do with students, college students who are away. They'd like to vote. So we have a lot of that, or those who are traveling for that day of absentee.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I think we'll have both. I'm hoping they'll come out to early vote and take advantage of that, because there's no excuse. There's no reason that they don't have to, and as it is with absentee, it's either you're out of the country or a religious belief, or the fact that you're hospitalized or something.
Great. So I'm sure that election season is a huge process for the both of you. So tell us a little bit about how that process works, how long you guys been planning for this, for the ultimate day of November 8th.
Speaking from, on the third floor of the town hall, where I'm not, actively engaged in all of the operations, but from an operational perspective, I admire town clerks a tremendous amount. Not only do they have to go through actual elections to be elected from the voters, but there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to get these elections set up. And
I'm sure.
I'd say there's probably anywhere maybe from 50 to 100 people in terms of election workers, town staff, the police officers, volunteers, folks that...
It's DPW. It's just set up the night before. The day before, we all go and we set up. We have 8 precincts, so...
Yep.
Wow.
And so it's quite a bit of folks.
Right.
The voting machines don't just show up and work properly on that day, right?
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's testing that the town clerk's office does. There's
right.
required by the state. There's a lot of regulations, from the state of Massachusetts that the town has to follow.
Okay.
There's a tremendous amount of volunteers and trainings. If you're an election worker, the town clerk's office isn't just putting them in a chair and there's training that has to go on. So I'd say this is a project, if that's what you want to call it, Teresa, that you probably work on almost the entire calendar year.
It is. It's continuous.
It's continuous. And then after the election, there's the breaking down of it. So for the average voter who goes in and spends the 10 minutes to vote, that's great. But I'd be also remiss if I didn't point out, knock on wood, Massachusetts has, a long positive history of not a lot of voter problems that you hear of in other states, right?
Yeah.
We all know the hanging Chad problem in Florida, but you hear about these, you hear about these 3, 4, 5 hour lines sometimes in Ohio, and you hear about people that are still poking holes in the ballots, in Florida. And, in Massachusetts, we have a really, really strong electoral system.
Right.
The Secretary of State does a great job overseeing this for a long time. The town clerks put a tremendous amount of heart and soul into these efforts. No, you really do. And I've seen it in a lot of other communities, too. And so, there's a lot of work that goes into this stuff. It's not just kind of, magically pops up.
Right.
So it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It is.
It's a lot of work to make it easy and quick for the voters. So.
That's right. And I think,
to
to your earlier question, too, to try to get more voters to participate,
Exactly.
which is really important that everybody goes out to vote.
Yes.
Giving alternative options that you mentioned before, absentee ballots, voting a couple weeks before, trying to make it, extended hours that Teresa's putting in her office on Saturdays, trying to make voting your 10 or 15 minute investment in time is try to make it as accessible as possible to everybody.
Right. So we want people to come out and vote. So why not make it as easy as possible for our voters, right?
It's a privilege, and you should.
Exactly. You should take advantage of it.
Take advantage.
Absolutely. So are residents able to register to vote online?
Yes, they can. They can actually go on to registertovotema.com.
Okay.
It takes about 5 minutes for them to do that, and it automatically comes right into our queue in the state computer.
Great.
And we'll get it right away.
Awesome.
And also, I just want to remind those residents who are going to be turning 18 by election, they still need to register to vote by October 19th.
Okay.
If they do that, that's fine. We'll get it, and they'll still be able to vote on Election Day on November 8th.
Jamie, I know that the presidential election is the main focus right now, but there are some state-related issues still on the ballot as well. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
That's right. So obviously the presidential election is the main event. I'm sure that that's what's going to be driving a lot of the voter turnout.
Right.
But there's also state legislative races that are going to be on the ballot, and also 4 ballot questions.
Okay.
So the first ballot question is authorizing a slots parlor at Suffolk Downs in East Boston.
Okay.
I think the second ballot question is kind of a funny one. It's about hens being cage-free.
Oh. Okay.
And so a lot of hens in terms of egg production,
Right.
and chickens are cooped up in cages. And so what this would do is, if it passes, would actually make it a law in Massachusetts that it'd be a much more humane way of raising chickens and hens. So that's the second ballot question. And then the third ballot question is relative to charter schools.
Okay.
State law puts a cap on the amount of charter schools that the state can allow. And so this would raise the cap on the amount of charter schools that are allowed to be signed up through the Department of Education. And then the fourth ballot question is about legalizing recreational marijuana.
Okay.
So, a lot of voters a lot of the attention these days is certainly on the presidential election, of course. But I think when a lot of voters go into the booth, they're going to recognize the ballot's actually quite long.
Right.
And so, we certainly encourage a lot of the voters out there to take a few minutes of their time, go to the Secretary of State's website, where he's sent out a ballot book, the red book
Everybody
out
should
to
receive.
all residents, I believe, to the state. But take a few minutes. Encourage residents to take a few minutes and read through that book so that they're educated on the issues when they go in.
Right.
Especially for the folks who are really just focused on the presidential election.
Absolutely.
They'll be able to cast their vote and have their voice heard on a lot of state policy issues as well.
Great.
And I do have the questions are in my office also, if anybody would like them. And there's on my website, there's also the questions that are out there that they can see.
Great.
And read them.
Wonderful. Now, are there any other pointers that voters should know this election season?
Just to get out and vote.
Vote
early.
Have your voice heard.
Yes.
The great thing about the United States of America, doesn't matter your education, doesn't matter how much money you make or how much you don't make, everybody's voice is completely equal because everybody gets a crack at the ballot.
Great.
So that's what's great about our country.
So
Take
true.
advantage of it. Don't take it for granted. Spend the 20 minutes. Bring your kids with you. No school.
Right.
It's a
That's
great
right.
civics lesson as well.
Yes.
For our kids. So it's really important that people get out this year and make sure their voices
Because
are
their
heard.
vote, your vote counts.
Every vote counts, so make sure to go out there and vote. Wonderful.
Excellent.
Well, thank you so much, Jamie and Teresa, for joining us in this conversation and for clarifying the questions that our voters must have this season.
Well,
So thank you again.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for
Appreciate
having
it.
us.
Thank you.
And I leave you with this final thought. Elections are the realized will of the people writ large. One of our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, often stated that the people can't acquiesce to things they don't understand. Jefferson believed that educated citizens are essential for good government. That's why we have debates. over 80 million people watched the first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. We got to compare them, quite literally, side by side. Debates not only promote the quantity of votes, they can also improve the quality. Here in Franklin, you can vote early at your convenience. Just go to our town clerk's office from October 24th through November 4th, before our election on November 8th. I say our election because it is just that, ours to do with as we will, and we hope that you will. Such is your right and joyous privilege. For Our Franklin, I'm Pollock Manjari. Thanks for watching.